YouTube! Today is the day that I think we've all been waiting for. Today is the beginning of the end for the Unreal Engine. Because today, we start development on the Turbo Engine, the ultimate game engine. By the time this comes out, nobody is going to use the Unreal Engine anymore. As you can see, we're starting out with a completely blank project, Turbo. The first thing we got to do is set this up in a way that it doesn't become an absolute nightmare to work on down the line, and that it's not completely impossible to use. I have absolutely no idea how to make a game engine, but that's what we're here to figure out together. By the end of this, we are going to be C++ game engine masters. So we really just need to figure out how to set this up. So luckily, Game Engine Series here has a video with exactly what we need to know. How are we going to set this up? So he is using two different languages. We are going to build the entire thing in C++, but it really shouldn't be too hard to do what he's doing and just only use C++. Okay, so basically from what I understand so far, the best way to do this is we have this solution file, and then we have the turbo engine here. We're going to have more than one project, I guess, within this. So the turbo engine is going to be a DLL. So a DLL file with all of our dependencies and libraries. We'll link into that. Then we're gonna have another application file, I guess, and that's gonna be the executable. And that way, all the libraries that we depend on will be linked into the Turbo, this DLL file, and then the application file can pull from that. And I think mainly that's because this won't have to have everything statically linked into it. I don't really know what a DLL file is or how it works or anything about dynamic and static linking, so let's figure that out. Static linking copies all the libraries required for the program into the final executable file. Basically, the overall reason we want to do this is because instead of all of our dependencies being linked right into the game itself, everything can be linked into the Turbo Engine, and then that application file can just pull from that. All right, so if we need to go into properties, we're gonna make this for x64. All right, so here's what we want to look. This is the DLL. So if we change this to DLL, now this should make this that DLL file where we link all of our dependencies to. We'll have to make another file, and we'll just call it like application, and that should be the executable. Okay, so now we basically have to do the same thing again, and we need to make that application file. That's going to be the actual executable file. We want to add the turbo engine as a reference to sandbox. Add reference. There, this is how we want it to be. There we go. Turbo is now linked to the sandbox. Please work. If everything works, if I did this right, we get an error. Linker tools, this is nice. So we just go here, properties. That's gotta be it. Look at that. We have a game engine. All right, so it's a new day. It's about a week later from what you just saw. We're gonna continue with the project. I've already kind of looked ahead on what I need to do, and basically we need to make an entry point for the game engine. Now, I've never actually set up a project this big, so this is a little bit, I'm not too familiar with this, but we're gonna just work our way through it. So here's what we have. Basically, we can get rid of this. We don't need this, because that was pointless. I know one thing we can do is just in here, just make a main function like this. All right, so we made a core.h file, so this is just we're gonna put macros in here, so I'm not sure how to do that. Conditional compilation directive. This is what we're actually using. All right, so I got macros down. I just wanted to make sure I knew how they were working before I just start typing stuff in from the internet. Okay, so core.h in this turbo DLL file. We made some macros so that we don't have to keep typing in export and import. Oh, there we go. We know macros now. This is great. One thing I want to be sure I know is the define directive. So now this application is including core.h, and now we can bring application up here and it should work. So in the sandbox app, we're including this header file. This header file contains the application file, which contains, this macro that we created. So when it gets to this, when it runs this, it's gonna also export that DLL file. Why is this saying this has no member class? It does. Why? Namespace Turbo has no member class application. Did I spell this wrong? we're getting there. So we're basically running. Now we need to copy, we recompiled it. Let's try this. Please, for the love of God, work. Oh, there. And if I run, please for the, oh my God, it worked. I mean, we're at a good point. I think I want to stop before I do any more and just kind of let this soak in. I need to review this. I have a good idea of how this is all working, but I couldn't recreate this quickly on my own. So I need to just dive in, let it soak, really understand what's actually happening here. I also think this is gonna go a lot faster once I learn the ins and outs of C++. C++ is fun, but there's a lot more to learn than, you know, Python or JavaScript. So by the next video, I should truly know how this is all working, how I could set this up on my own. The next one, we're gonna start logging stuff so we can see what's actually happening instead of printing out statements all the time like we just did. For right now though, we're just gonna call it here. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.